G'day, legend. Welcome back to the Noob Spearo podcast. I'm assuming you're rejoining me, but if you're brand new here for the first time, my name is Shrek and I get to host this awesome sucker. It's called the Noob Spearo podcast. I interview spearfishing experts, authorities, and characters from around the world, and we froth on, that is for sure. Today, it's Nick Anastasia, Nick the Hammer, at Team Sea Monkeys on Instagram. This dude's sick. He's kind of a wild man, but he's very contained, very self-contained, very interesting dude. I had a really cool chat with him all about Hawaii, and I can never say it right. I'm trying, so please bear with me. So at Team Sea Monkeys, if you want to check out what he does, blue water spearfishing, shore diving sometimes, and this guy's taken down some insane fish, and he's just a really cool guy. It's a really interesting conversation, so I hope you enjoy it. We're going to get there in two shakes of a lamb's tail, as they say. Before we get there, Jobfish, the Jobfish tribute, and jeepers, what an apt interview to help me launch this sucker. I have paid for a bunch of hoodies, shirts and stickers that I'm stocking right here at the Noob Spearo studio. I'm going to have a bunch of images coming up on our at Noob Spearo Instagram and on noobspearo.com. Check it out. There is an awesome sale going on. I'm going to have free shipping Australia-wide for the hoodies, shirts and stickers for the Jobfish tribute gear. For the international guys, if you buy a hoodie or a shirt, I'm going to throw in a free sticker at about $10 value for free, just to help make up for the shipping pain from Australia. In other news, book sales going off. Spearfishing Superstore, I've got it in Cairns, Spear West in Perth, Boss Outdoor in Merimbula, Fergo's Tackle World in Wollongong, Batavia Coast Dive and Water Sports in Geraldton, Adreno Aspley, Adreno Wollongabba, Adreno Gold Coast, Adreno Melbourne, Adreno Sydney, Adreno Perth, Neptune Spear and Dive in Mackay, Giataku by Derek in Perth has got it, Thwaites Marine in Coffs Harbour, Mo Tackle Coffs Harbour, Exmouth Tackle and Camping Supplies, Barbecues and More in Browns Plains, Hunt Gather Grow in Bedell in New South Wales, East to West Freediving in British Columbia, Spearfishing UK in Cornwall, Sky Spearfishing in Scotland, Typer Tackle in Northland, Ocean Hunter in Whangarei, Wellington and Auckland. All these guys have got 99 Spearo recipes in stock. Get in there at one of these legends that are helping to get this book into our spearfishing community's hands. It's probably the best resource going for teaching guys how to care for their catch, from shooting the fish to absolutely taking care of it and putting on an amazing meal for your family and friends and making the most of this awesome lifestyle spearfishing. So thank you to all the retailers. If you can't get to any of them, it's always up on noobspearo.com or Amazon. And yeah, if you just want to check out the digital edition, that's there as well. It's a full color PDF that will drop to you. Awesome. Hey, I'm on the hunt for a couple of new sponsors as well. Basically, the deal is I love long-term partners for the podcast, people that make and do fantastic stuff that serve our community. If you have some ideas for potential partners for me, please email me, shrek@noobspearo.com. We only partner with people that look after our community, but if you know someone, let me know, shrek@noobspearo.com. Get into the Jobfish tribute stuff, my friend. Hey, let's get into it. Nick Anastasia at Team Sea Monkeys. This is a rad dude and a rad chat. I hope you enjoy it. Adreno stocks equipment for noobers, the gear you need for all things freediving and spearfishing. The Adreno spearfishing team froth on helping customers learn about the latest in spearfishing equipment, local diving, upcoming trips and events for Spearos of all levels of experience. There's no ego in there. You're going to meet cool people that love this spearing lifestyle as much as you do. Visit them in store in one of their huge mega stores around Australia. Chat to one of their friendly team members. Take advantage of the Noob Spearo discount code. Save $20 on every purchase over $200 in store, online, easy savings. Pump in the code Noob Spearo if you're shopping online or in store. Mention it to one of their friendly team members and save $20 over $200. That's right. Use the code Noob Spearo in store. Shop with Adreno, our partner for more than 200 episodes.
I was left with an empty cooler after missing and wounding a bunch of fish with a shoddy spear gun. A work colleague urged me to speak to Naptonics, and I'm so glad I did. Without Jerry and the Naptonics team, I would have kept missing bulk fish and coming home to my wife empty-handed. Now I can focus on slaying monster hogs and grouper and covering the deck of my boat in blood.
Never buy a shitty piece of equipment again. Shop Neptonics.com. Use the code NOOB10 to save 10% and go spearing with confidence. Jerry says if we sell it, we believe in it, we trust it, and dive it. Shop Neptonics.com. Free shipping for the lower 48 for orders over $199, and you can save 10% when you use the code NOOB10, NOOB10 at Neptonics.com. Hoorah! All right, well, g'day, Noob Spearo community. I'm joined by Nick Anastasia. He's a Hawaiian resident. He's a Hawaii diver. Nick and I have sort of been trying to jack up an interview for, 9 months or something. As usual, the backwards and forwards and the time zones and stuff. But Nick, the Hammer, has joined me. How are you, Nick?
I'm good. How you doing, brother?
Yeah, good. So you're normally a Hawaiian resident, but right now you're in Japan. Tell me about this craziness.
Yeah, no, just doing a little international trip with my girlfriend. Unfortunately, not diving out here. But I did talk to Brandon Whalers.
Yeah.
Who is I think he's a little bit down south of here somewhere.
Yeah.
And he just shot like a 50-kilo doggy out here. So I would love to come out here and dive, but I think it's a little bit crazy with the laws. Like,
yes,
you can dive in certain prefectures, but you got to have permission.
Yes.
I'm not really sure how it all works.
I'm not sure either. I know the tuna lobby there, the commercial fishery kind of run things there in Japan, and they dictate how the recreational sector sort of functions. And I've been in touch with a couple of Japanese divers because they do some amazing stuff. And most of them dive pole spears specifically. I believe that's legal, but maybe spear guns are not. Again, that might be different from prefecture to prefecture, like you sort of said.
Yeah. No, I saw you saw that guy Mission 100. He takes down big doggies with the pole spear, man. I don't know where he's at, but they definitely got some real fish out here.
They've got crazy stuff too. So down south you've got like dogtooth, and then up north you've got like proper Arctic fish, because Japan's quite a long country, so they've kind of got all the extremes there. Mission 100. I'm typing it in. Is that Instagram?
I think so. Mission 100. He's just a young Japanese local that like dedicated his life to spearfishing and just like takes out 100. He's going for 100-kilo doggy on the pole spear. Hand makes all his stuff, but they've got some insane diving out here. And I know there's a couple guys like Hot Rod Spearfishing and some of those guys on Instagram. I don't know if you follow them.
Yeah.
But they dive out of Okinawa.
Yeah.
Oh shoot, we're blowing up the spots right now, man. Sorry about that. But I don't know what they're doing, if it's illegal or what the situation is, man. But I'm trying to get out there.
Yeah. And I was just listening to you.
You can edit this out.
No, we're not. We're gonna blow it up now, bro. We're already into it. I listened to you.
I end up in Japanese prison, man.
Yeah, I listened to your interview on Spear Factor with Brett. There was some good yarns in there, man, about blue water hunting. So hopefully we can get into a bit of that with this chat.
Oh yeah, for sure.
As usual, I did top-notch Noob Spearo research. So where did you get your nickname, the Hammer, from?
The Hammer. I didn't know that was my nickname, bro.
Oh, I thought that was your nickname. I see some guys calling you the Hammer.
Oh, really? That's like Hawaiian slang.
What does it mean?
If you're a good diver, you're a hammer. You kill fish. Yeah. That's what we say in Hawaii anyway.
Yeah, nice. Cool. Man, you got on a trip to French Polynesia. I saw you took your dad with you, and looks like he shot a good fish as well. He shot a sailfish with the G-Man. Is that right?
Yeah. So I'll just give you a little bit of background. My name's Nick. I'm a shore diver from Wahoo, and my earliest memories of diving were just holding on to my dad's back and snorkeling around Sharks Cove on Oahu.
Yeah.
But I didn't start diving and spearfishing seriously until I came back to Oahu from college, and kind of got into it and found a passion for blue water spearfishing. But yeah, man, we recently went out last summer, or I guess the Southern Hemisphere winter, and did a trip out to French Polynesia with G. And man, it was just like the most intense. It was like spearfishing on steroids. And G is just like a hardcore dude. He's just like he's a beast in the water, and he put us on some big fish.
Yeah, man, I see him shoot some crazy stuff. So guys can go and follow him. It's like Gerard Graves, and Yeah, but I saw that sailfish your dad shot. So walk us through that hunt. Were you there for it?
Yeah. So, oh yeah, we were definitely there for it. Um, so he charters us a little boat. It's like a Tahitian fishing vessel. It's like inboard diesel, just like real hardcore fishing boat. And like we already took like 3 planes, a train, and a bus to get to this island, right? And then we take this diesel boat and we motor it way offshore to this atoll, just out in the middle of the Pacific, right? And like we're just out there, and we pull up on this atoll, and it's like it's beautiful, man. It's just like completely deserted. Like I don't know if humans have ever been there, but we jump out into the water, and it's just like, well, actually, let me start over. So we're looking for the fish, right? We pull up to the atoll, and they throw out trolling lures. So we got the lures in the water, and we didn't have them out for more than 30 seconds before we got a hit. So we
Wow.
start reeling it in, and the whole lure was snipped off. So I jump in, and G told me not to shoot anything, right? He was like, we're gonna wait for the biggest fish. So I jump in, and I got my gun load. I'm looking around, and immediately I'm just getting schooled by like Wahoo, like I don't know, just a huge school of them, all like 50 to 100 pounds, and they're just swimming straight at me. So I had one, he's probably about 80 pounds, just breezed me within like 5 feet, and I didn't pull trigger.
Oh,
So
done.
G jumps in the water. Yeah. He drops the flasher, and then this whole school turns around, and the same Wahoo that passed me, he was like, that's the biggest one. So I dropped down. I nailed that one.
Beautiful.
Thing just took off. Yeah. And I got that one on the boat. He was about 34 kilos or something like that.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. That was
Fantastic.
a big one. And earlier in the trip, sorry about the sailfish.
Yeah.
My dad, it was like the first day that we were diving there, and uh, we didn't see much action all day, and we were like floating in the water, and out of nowhere, this big sailfish just comes up to the flashers, and I'm like, Dad, go, 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 dive. He dives, he just nails it, and then we fight it, we get it up, and that was like his first billfish.
Wow.
So yeah, it was pretty epic. Yeah. And he's the one that got me into diving. So to see him shoot like the fish of a lifetime like that was huge for me.
I was going
So
to say that. Like,
yeah, insane diving out in French Polynesia for sure.
I
Yeah.
read some of your posts about how he got you into it and that. Like, you used to take you snorkeling every week when you were young, and I mean that's a huge head start, isn't it, in the ocean?
Yeah, a little bit. I didn't really get into spearfishing until I got back from college, but we were always around the water when we were younger.
What'd you
And
study?
he was psychology of all things.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And I got my master's in business, but so completely unrelated to the ocean. But my dad, he was one of those hardcore like scuba spearfishing guys in the 90s, and they used to just go out and pound lobster and all that,
Yeah.
which is kind of frowned upon now, which is why there isn't any more lobster on Oahu. But yeah, it is what it is.
So how many years have since college, and like how long have you been spearing like hardcore?
Um, Shoot,
How old are you?
maybe since 2014, I've been diving.
So nearly 10
So
years.
yeah, yeah.
Do you froth on it just as hard now as you did when you started?
Oh, dude, absolutely,
Yeah.
100%. I would say more so these
Yeah.
days.
Why?
Yeah, yeah. Um, Man, I guess just I think just in day to day life, just working, and just having all those obligations to get into the ocean and go spearfishing and like be connected to nature.
Mm.
Uh, that's just it. It sort of takes you away from all that. There's a quote from Natalia Molchanova.
Yeah.
I think she's Alexei Molchanov's mother.
Okay.
Hardcore freediver. She was quoted saying, "Freediving is not only a sport, but a way to understand who you are. And when we go down, if you don't think, you understand we are whole. We are one with the world. When we think, we're separate." And I just think, man, in modern day life, you just got so much going on, and we've become so disconnected from nature. When I spearfish, like, kind of brings me back to that.
100% in
So
the moment sort of thing.
yeah, yeah. And I think any diver can attest to that.
Yeah. Being fully present. It requires all of you.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah. I saw a beautiful photo of you with a Wahoo taken by Mark Moeller. Is he a friend of yours?
Oh yeah, Mark Moeller. He's a hardcore waterman.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, he's got like 5 or 6 different zodiacs.
Yeah.
So that was one that I just shot recently out of Oahu. One of the first. It's actually where I shot my first Ono. Uh, so real special fish. But yeah, that one ended up going about 60, just over 60 pounds, which is kind of almost unheard of for Oahu.
Yeah, right.
So it was, yeah, just the fish of a lifetime. And I got it printed by a renowned Gyotaku artist named Naoki.
Ah.
So it was just an incredible fish. But yeah, Mark's a solid brada.
What's the flight time from Hawaii to Japan? And where are you? And are you in Osaka?
We just got to Kyoto, but yeah, it was
Ah,
about 7 hours. Yeah.
bro, I love Kyoto. I love it there.
Oh, have you been?
Yeah, man. A rush Oyama if you get a chance. Like rent one of those crazy electric bicycles and go for a bike to a rush Oyama. It's amazing. A bamboo forest. And if you head up
Oh
this
yeah,
this
we're definitely gonna do that.
up this river there's like this weird old monk's house. He was like a business person and stuff. There's crazy stuff to see in Japan. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're gonna go check it all out. Go to the temples and all that.
Get into some okonomiyaki as well while you're there, man. How you like that
What is
stuff?
that?
It's like a Japanese pancake, but they make it with like noodles and stuff, and then they put like their barbecue sauce over it with what's that other like that mayo they make, the Kewpie mayo, and
Yeah, yeah.
it's unbelievable. Banging street food.
Okay.
So healthy too, Japanese food. It's clean. Apart from the
Yeah,
stuff I like, which is all the dirty street food.
yeah. No, it's good stuff out here for sure. I'll go check it out.
Yeah, man, have fun. Also, there's a Comic Con, backpackers there I stayed in, and it's like one of those cubicle ones, but
Okay.
in the backpackers, it's this huge like manga library full of like Dragon Ball Z and all those crazy cartoons and stuff that we all sort of grew up with.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's
Dragon Ball Z, that's a classic.
yeah, yeah. Anyway, side note, man, you seem like you've got like a pretty lively community of hammer divers over there in Hawaii. I saw this pineapple kid, dude. I've never seen him come up before. He's got a YouTube
Oh,
channel and stuff.
young pineapple kid.
Yeah, he seems a bit
Yeah.
crazy. Tell me about him and diving with him.
Oh, he's one of my young boys. He's a buddy of mine. He's a frother,
Yeah,
just like you and I.
yeah.
Um,
Good on him.
and he's just one of my young boys, and I got the opportunity to put him on his first Wahoo, and yeah, he's just big into diving.
Sick.
Yeah, he's got his YouTube channel. Check him out, Pineapple Kids.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Cool. Man, you guys have a unique thing there too in Hawaii. You get to do like proper blue water shore diving, which like there's so much that
yeah,
can go wrong when you're blue water hunting and you really enjoy the support of a boat. Talk to me about blue water shore diving.
yeah, man. So I do most of my blue water shore diving on Big Island. So just to give you some background, uh, Big Island's around 300,000 years old,
Wow.
right? And the rest of the Hawaiian Islands are between like 1 and 4 million years old. So it's the youngest island of them all,
Yeah.
and it's the biggest and it's the steepest. So the underwater topography is perfect for blue water, right? Because you swim out like 100 yards, not even, and you're in 400, 500 feet of water. So it's just very conducive to blue water diving.
Mm,
Um, but with that being said, like, you know, you're that far offshore that quickly. There's gnarly current,
mm.
so it's yeah,
So you like maybe you shoot a wahoo, right? You shoot like a 45 pounder or something. Those things will
yeah,
take you for a good kilometer ride, depending on your shot placement and stuff like that. Like you get a fish drags you
right.
out into the hectic current. I mean, what's your process from there? What do? You just swim like Swim like a
Yeah,
like a
so
hammer.
like, you know what? Like a hammer.
Sorry, man.
But I'm very safety oriented when it comes to diving. Uh, so we get out there and and Ono will show up and it's not going off like French Polynesia where you just got fish after fish after fish coming through. You could be diving for like a good 3 or 4 hours, maybe even longer before you even see a fish. So you dive down, hopefully you get a good shot into it. It takes off, and the first thing that I'm doing if we're like blue water shore diving is I'll grab the bungee and just immediately start like kind of beelining it for shore, just to get out of that open ocean current,
Yeah.
and then kind of work the fish from there. But just some tips for shore diving. I always like to know where I am relative to like a landmark.
Yeah.
So that way you can sort of tell how far you've drifted, which is basic stuff. But in the heat of the moment, like you got a big wahoo on, you're not always paying attention to that kind of stuff. But I'm constantly always looking up at the shoreline and trying to bring that fish close in. So yeah, I'd say definitely pay attention to where you are relative to the shore.
And like, I mean, you shoot a couple of good fish, it's a fair amount of weight to drag into current as well. So like, have you been caught in, rugged offshore heading currents, and how did you sort of get around that?
Oh yeah, for sure. So I mean, I think most divers on Big Island can say that they've been in a situation where they're just stuck on the treadmill, which is like, you got a fish on your float, uh, and you're swimming and you're just not making any ground. Typically, what you want to do is you want to just try and beeline it straight for shore. You don't want to try and swim up current and like back into where you're at
Yeah.
or where you might have jumped in at. You want to just beeline it straight for shore. And then, the current's going to push you down, but eventually you'll make it to land.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's definitely been times where I've been dragging fish and like unfortunately just had to cut the fish loose
Yeah.
and make it back to shore.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that's what matters most is getting back.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like I always got that sort of order of operations in the back of my head when I'm shore diving. Worst case scenario, I'll ditch the fish. If it gets really hectic, I'll drop my weight belt. If it gets worse, I'll drop the gun and just hang on to the float and use it like a boogie board.
Yep.
And I think that's something that every diver should be willing to do.
Yeah, man.
Or to have in the back of their mind, worst case scenario.
Because sometimes you're jumping off these like sheer rock faces, and it's not like you can take a kayak or a sup with you. Like you have to like just have gear you can carry, and you don't really know where you're going to come to shore either. Is that right?
Yeah. I mean, ideally you got an entry and exit point where you're going to get in at. But sometimes, man, like the ocean just has other plans. And actually, recently, some divers went out that weren't from Big Island. They went to a popular Big Island spot. It was like crazy onshore winds. It was just after like the full moon, where the current was in full swing, and I guess the guys had got separated. I don't know really what the situation was. But one of the divers didn't realize how far he was offshore because it's sort of hard to tell, even looking at the land.
Yeah.
And he got stuck on the treadmill and like he actually luckily had a PLB on him, the personal locator beacon.
Yeah.
He popped it, and then after about 2.5 hours, he made it back to shore. And they called off the rescue and everything, but it just goes to show what can happen out there.
Crazy.
So you got to have a healthy respect for it for sure.
Not many people have swam nonstop into current for 2 hours either. Like you get this lactic burn in your muscles, and there's no stopping.
Yeah.
You can't stop because you're going the opposite way as fast as you can swim. So you have to stay on that treadmill. And it's like sheer mongrel and willpower that just gets you in there.
Yeah, man. And it's like realistically, like how long can you even keep that up?
Yep.
Depending on how conditioned you are, which is like another like big tenet of shore diving for me. And I just do this naturally now is like energy conservation, in every way. Like sometimes people will set up buoys inshore, like fishermen, and like any opportunity that I get to hang onto that buoy and just rest for a little bit, I'm taking it.
Yeah.
And just being efficient with how you're swimming and how you're finning, and you know, trying to minimize the amount of crap that you have hanging off your float. It's like all stuff to take into consideration when you're shore diving.
Have you thought about the angle of the fin blades? Because a lot of people talk about this, particularly guys that like to swim long distances. Like, like a lot of comp divers might swim, like they might swim 4 or 5 miles in a comp in one session. And so,
Yeah.
having fins that are good at swimming along the surface can be a game changer. Have you thought much about the angle of the blade to the foot pockets and stuff? Because some fin manufacturers tout their angle is the best, and there's arguments about it. Have you looked into that?
You know what? I haven't studied like the physics behind the angle of the blade.
Mm.
I can tell you that I've used like many different types of fin and foot pocket, and I recently bought a pair of dive R's,
Yeah.
and those are hands down the best fins I've ever used. And I'm not sponsored by them or anything like that. They're a legit fin.
Yeah.
I did get my dad a pair of leader fins that had a little bit more of an aggressive angle,
Yeah.
I think, and I noticed that uh, it seems like he's not getting as much propulsion
Yeah.
out of his fins. So I mean, take that for what it's worth.
Yeah.
I would say, dude, just get a pair of dive R's. Like they're solid.
Yeah.
Like you can't go wrong with them.
With dive R's and penetrators, I mean, those fins are made an hour south of me, and they're purpose made for a spearfishing application. A lot of Spearos get sucked into the trap of this lighter, super like, no layers of carbon, but and it just feels like you're wearing paper on your feet, and they're for high performance single freediving dives. I think the difference between spearfishing and freediving fins is ours are robust and will give you power out of the hole when you want it, and they have that balance between performance and and being robust. I think there's a difference there, and sometimes Spearos don't understand the distinction. What do you think?
Oh yeah, 100%. I've had a set of like carbon free diving fins, and they're buttery smooth in the water, but and they're great for diving straight up and down and lake like conditions. But if you get into some heavy current or you're trying to boost up a big fish, like those aren't doing you any favors.
What's the story with that company, Moana Waterman? They're a Hawaiian company, aren't they? They made good fins a few years ago. Are they still around, or what's happening with them?
I think they got bought out by Headhunter Spearfishing out of Florida.
Okay.
Pretty sure. But yeah, those are solid fins. I had a pair of Moana Watermans. Those are decent.
Yeah, cool.
Still going with the dive R's though.
Cool. Man, you've got this surrealistic photoshopped picture of you holding an Ono with, I think maybe with a uku, and you're in a hex suit,
dude.
and you've photoshopped in that Garfield you remember do you remember Garfield and there was like this Hawaii series, and it's that surrealistic sort of art, and you photoshopped that in the background. It's a rad picture, man, on your Instagram.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. My brother actually did that for me. He's kind of an artist.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, they don't like you posting with the background.
Yeah.
And I see a lot of guys, they just kind of blur it out, but he got creative with it and put that together. I thought that was really cool.
Man,
I was gonna get it like printed out in the frame.
Yeah, that's what I'll do with it. It's cool, man.
Yeah. Speaking of which, what photo is that behind? What Gotaku is that behind you?
That's one I did. Yeah, it's a Chinaman. Over in Western Australia, you can hunt them. Over here in Queensland, on the east side of Australia, they're often filled with ciguatera, so we can't hunt them here. But in Western Australia, they don't have that to contend with. So I got to shoot one, and they're just like a ball of muscle, and they're a rad fish, man. Heaps of character. They're like a pit bull. Those things they go off like a frog in a sock, to use an Australian slang there on you.
Strong fish, good tasting.
People argue about it. Like they say, like, because it's so muscly, like it's a bit more. It's not a tender fish. Like most fish, like subject to how you cook them. Like you guys have the GTs there, and some people will complain. What do you call a GT there again?
Lure.
But
Yeah.
across parts of the world, they hate them. But you guys like eating them a lot of the time, don't you?
Oh yeah, it's a trophy fish. It's like, yeah, I still haven't shot a bigalure yet.
Yeah.
So it's one of those elusive, really hard to catch fish.
Yeah.
And I think it goes back to the ancient Hawaiians and that.
Yeah.
But
I'd put the Chinaman on like a kind of like a thing with that, but they're crazy. They're just a mongrel thing. They're pretty curious too. And well, I got spoiled. I got schooled up by maybe like 10 or 12 of them at one time. That fish went to town on me, gave me a good run. And it was nice to
yeah,
print it and just to be able to honor that. It's a special experience being over there. It's not something I get to shoot here in Queensland. So I printed that myself. That was my very first one. Derek,
dude, that's awesome.
Derek Tan. I
I
had Derek Giataku who come in and showed me. So he walked me through it. So I still buggered it up, but like not as bad as I would have if I just did it.
Bro, I got respect for anyone that has the patience to try and gyotaku a fish, because I've tried to do it a handful of times, and like to even get something that slightly resembles a fish
Yeah.
is, yeah, man, it's hard to do.
And he's
I'm
got
telling about that.
yeah.
Sorry,
No,
about
shoot.
that wahoo that I got gyotaku'd.
Yeah.
I had that renowned gyotaku artist Naoki print that 60-pound wahoo I shot recently.
What's
I
their
built that spot.
Instagram handle? So I can check him.
Dude, so here's the thing, man. He has Instagram. I think it's Naoki Gyotaku,
Yeah.
but he's just like an old school, hardcore, like Japanese artist. He's like approaching his 60s.
Okay.
And, I showed up to his workshop and I was all excited to be there. So I pulled out my phone and, I was, of course, taking pictures and videos and stuff. And he just stopped me and pulled me aside. He was like, "Hey, listen, I want you to be here and experience this in this moment with me." And I was like, "Oh, you know what? That's real." And he was just talking about like how, these days we're so accustomed to pulling out our phone and in special moments and just like not fully living it. And yeah, man. So just real special moment to print that fish and do that. So I got respect for that fish back there. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. I'm just looking at his Instagram. He's got one post up, Gyotaku by Naoki.
Dude, he is not a social media guy. He was like, "Hey, I don't want you posting that fish on social media. Just keep it to yourself," kind of deal. Like with the painting and all that. So,
good on him.
Yeah.
That's cool. I love that feeling underwater when you pull the trigger and you know exactly where that shaft is going. You want something dependable. You want to put that fish that you've been chasing for a lifetime in the boat, in the cooler, in the esky, in the chili bin if you're in New Zealand. Why do we call all these things different names? Anyway, today's show sponsor, KillshotSpearguns.com, make awesome wooden timber spear guns, a fantastic shooting platform. If you've ever shot a big timber gun, you know the reliability that you get from these things. He mostly makes enclosed track spear guns. Visit him at KillshotSpearguns.com. Use the code Noob to save $30 on any Killshot spear gun. Hey guys, not sure how you stay hydrated out on the boats on those long days out on the water, but staying hydrated is absolutely critical towards good equalization and looking after your body, making sure you're not doing those awkward one-legged kicks to the surface when one leg cramps out on you. Go to aqualite.com.au and get yourself a box of sachets. You just simply add them to water. It's less than $1.28 per serve. It's cheaper and healthier than any other sports drinks on the market. Aqualite will make a difference in your spearfishing. Check it out at aqualite.com.au. Use the code NoobSpearo to save 10% on any order. Check it out. Aqualite, made in Western Australia. Got a sweet deal for you today, guys. Go to freedivingfamily.com and learn from Adam Stern and a select team of experts on different disciplines. There's Frenzel, Advanced Frenzel and Hands-Free Equalization, Mouthful, Deep Frenzel Equalization, Bi-Finning Essentials. These are courses that will give you the 1% that will allow you to improve. Use the code Spearo to get 20% off any course at freedivingfamily.com. Again, that's the code Spearo to get 20% off at freedivingfamily.com. Thanks, Adam and team. Love it. I got some notes here, man. I noticed you use a large sort of blue water roller gun. Is that your go-to?
Yeah, man. Now it is, and I've used so many different types of blue water guns. Um, I've shot most of my fish with just a traditional three-banded pipe gun, aim right 140 King Venom,
Yep.
like go-to blue water gun. Yeah, I mean, you could beat that gun to death and it'll still shoot. It's like the AK-47 of spearfishing.
Yeah, yeah.
But I've been getting into the inverted rollers, and one of my friends, Paul Hutchings, met him down in Tahiti with Gerard. He's like a custom gun builder.
Is that Mr. Joints? It's another dude.
No, not Mr.
Sorry.
Joints.
Okay.
Yeah, he's another builder that builds inverted spear guns.
Okay.
And he's the owner of several Alamanis. He's a saturation diver, something of an engineer and a carpenter, and also a spear fisherman. And he's been putting together these crazy double inverted spear guns. And that's the gun that I'm using now. It's like 155 centimeters total length, 140 centimeters band stretch, and it's a double roller that shoots a 9mm shaft. And you know, I think a lot of guys that seems kind of impractical, and it's like it's just too big.
Yeah.
But I think if you're serious about blue water spearfishing and you put a lot of time in the water, I think the biggest gun that you can reasonably swim with is the one that you want to go with. Just because, I mean, you spend enough time out in the blue, like you're gonna run across a fish that's gonna put your gun to the test. So, yeah. And that definitely that was the case with me in a bunch of different situations. But
I'm using this. I'm using like a 1 meter single roller pipe gun, and it's carbon barrel, and this thing's just like so fun, man. Like if I want to hunt caves, it's just like it's on. But then like I have a 15 kilo like Spanish mackerel swim up to me, and I'm just kind of like I got to get close, and then I landed one the other day, but I'm just kind of like I wish for more power sometimes, and I've been thinking and making this, like because it throws the shaft hard. But like if I run into a good Wahoo or something with that gun, I don't have the confidence to land it. So I'm in that process of thinking my way through getting a double roller or an inverted. But you've gone one up on that. You've gone a double inverted.
Double inverted, dude. It's got 4 rollers on it. It's next level. Even when I got, I was like, this is too much. This is crazy.
Yeah.
But
is it like, man, how long does it take you to reload it? Like, have you had any failures on it? How robust and resilient is it and easy to use?
Yeah, dude. And that's the thing with these inverted rollers is like the more complex the gun is, the more components you have on the gun.
Yeah.
Right. So the more points of failure. You got freaking 18 wishbones. You got to make sure all of them are tight. So the good thing about Paul's guns is that he uses like titanium metal and just sources all the best parts from around the world. But as far as loading, it honestly doesn't take me that much longer than it would to load like a traditional like 4 or 5 banded gun, which is what they use out in California to shoot bluefin tuna. So, and honestly, with blue water spearfishing, I'm probably swimming around for 4 or 5 hours and pulling the trigger once or twice, right? Yep. So it's not. I'm not too concerned about reload time. Yeah. So
what's your effective
I just want to make
range?
sure that I have an accurate shot. Say again.
What's your effective range throwing a 9mm spear?
Dude, honestly, me and my buddy Che, we tested those guns, and I was shooting out to like 25 feet, which is like, no, the best part is you don't even have to dive for the fish.
You just blast stuff from the surface.
Oh, wow. I'm just shooting them from the top, dude.
Far out. Yeah. Man, look at Kim Jong Il. Like here comes Nick with this double inverted double.
Man, you got Ryan Myers. He's out here diving to 150 feet. Man, I just shoot him from the top. Yo, you can keep all that deep diving.
Yeah.
I'm gonna just buy a bigger gun.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
crazy. So how long what was the adaptation curve to this gun? Like you were saying you come from a conventional like a King Venom. Like so
Yeah.
you jump on this gun. How long was it? Were you accurate with it from the start? Like was it like
Well, so here's the thing, man. With most guns, if you were to take, whatever single or double roller or triple banded traditional gun that you're using, and you were to shoot a target, right, at 20 or so feet, I would say most guns that I've used, anecdotally speaking, like they don't shoot straight,
nah.
right? They're curving off to the left, they're curving off to the right, they're shooting low, depending on how you have it set up. With the gun that I got from Paul, the thing shoots flat.
Yeah.
So it was actually just a matter of me getting used to a gun that actually shot straight. Because my Aimrite 140, it's a deadly gun, but I think
You,
naturally it was shooting a little bit high.
so you're
And so
compensating for that.
yeah, so I was compensating. So it took me a while to learn to shoot a gun that shoots straight.
Mm.
But yeah, it definitely takes at least a few dives to get dialed in and get used to the reloading and stuff like that. But once you got that figured out, like I won't go back to my traditional guns.
Who's this guy again?
Yeah.
What's his name?
At Paul_Hutchings. And I think him and G tested those guns down in French Polynesia, side by side with the Alemani Vela 135, and it was outperforming it in terms of penetration, speed, and accuracy. So I think they're legit. But yeah, go check them out.
I'm trying to find this guy. There's a whole bunch of people. I definitely haven't found him. There's too many Paul Hutchings here. I'll have another look later. Maybe is there spear guns on it or something?
It's just Paul_Hutchings. HUTCHINGS.
Yeah, I've got that, and it's like
it's Instagram, yeah.
Oh no, hang on. Oh, okay.
I'm
Here
saying
we go.
if you're looking into a blue water gun,
I got him.
okay.
Sorry. Yeah. Follow back. He's already following me. Ah, rad. Sweet.
Of course, you the hammer. have you shot your first Wahoo yet, or what's the deal?
Bro, no. I got to come over and hang out with you, man. Just come jump off some crazy Wahoo shoulder.
I got a little tip for you because I hear a lot of guys, they give tips on how to shoot Wahoo. They tell you to drop down and then turn the other way and start swimming the other direction and doing the hokey pokey and all this and that.
Yeah.
You don't need to do all that. Who is the charter boat captain from Florida that you just had on recently?
Captain Bly, maybe?
No,
Aaron Young?
Aaron Young.
Yeah.
He's got the Wahoo dialed. And exactly what he said is you want to drop down and you want to intersect them. An issue that I had when I first started diving blue water, and an issue that I see with a lot of guys, is that they're too passive in their diving. They're not aggressive enough on the fish. So I would say when you see your first Wahoo, like obviously you don't want to be spinning all crazy on the surface and swinging your gun around, but you want to drop down. You want to strong, purposeful kicks towards the Wahoo, right? And then once you get in range, he's gonna be broadside to you, right? You know how far your gun shoots, right? You're going to know that you're in range. Once you're in range, you want to take like 3 or 4 strong, hard, good kicks towards the fish. And then the fish is going to start catching on to you. You're going to start swimming away, and that's when you pull trigger.
Yeah, right.
And 100% you're going to nail them. So just a little tip for shooting Wahoo.
Man, love it. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Well, you know what? On my trip down to French Polynesia with G, I lost like a 40-kilo Wahoo because I didn't do that last 3 or 4 kicks. So I want you to get yours, but
man,
just keep that in mind.
Well, the old Tahiti's been on the list for a while, but these days it's kind of Jamie Rives, deeply immersed on Instagram. Like he is just,
I know him,
man. I just want to go. I think I just want to go spend like a week with him, just get some stuff dialed in, and his knowledge these days is phenomenal. Yeah.
Yeah, he's hardcore. He lives it.
Yeah. I've been talking about him nonstop. I look at his Instagram and I just start frothing. My chest starts just like I just want to go. And I'm just like,
yeah, dude, he gets on those doggies.
Yeah. He's been putting out heaps of rad like tips and stuff too. Like, anyway, we were talking like your blue water roller. So we got into the nuts and bolts of that. You're using a breakaway. Walk me through your breakaway. Obviously you're like a D-shackle man. You've parted ways with shark clips for the most part.
Actually, man, you know what? And this is going to be like the kind of veterans vault portion of it. I'm going to get into rigging. So I would say, as far as rigging is concerned, if you want to shoot big fish, definitely got to use either cable or Dyneema, right? As far as with rollers, right now I'm currently using cable just because I feel like Dyneema is a little bit more prone to band tangles.
Yeah.
Um,
Muzzle wraps is a big
and
complaint.
yeah, and you know, a remedy to that, any guy that's having issue with band tangles with his roller, I've got some custom shafts made where I have a shark fin about halfway up the shaft with a hole through it, and I tie the shooting line to that, right? The theory being the wishbones in the rear, that line is clearing the muzzle before those wishbones land on the muzzle.
I'm hearing you.
And I feel like that kind of prevents that whole band tangle issue. So you know, either cable or Dyneema, and then I've got that cable rigged up to like a little, it's not a D shackle, it's like a sword fishing swivel.
Okay.
And onto that, I've got like a piece of Dyneema that I just tied on there, right? And then I just clip my tuna clips onto that directly.
Okay.
And I think that's a lot more practical than using a D shackle. Just because if you've ever tried to undo a D shackle in the water, it's a shit show. You can't do it unless you got a pair of pliers. And if you're actually shooting fish and you need to get that shaft out through the fish, like you need something practical. You need to be able to unclip your line and all that. So
100%.
I think, you know, the robust rice tuna clips or, you know, just something that's solid, as long as it's not like a little rinky dink tuna clip, those will do fine.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's as far as rigging, I would say that. And then, you know, here we use like 100-foot bungees to just like a 3 atmosphere float.
100-foot bungee. So what, you're getting 300% out of that or 200?
Yeah, something around there. Yeah.
What about for dogtooth though? That'll just, you'll get annihilated, won't you?
I think see, I don't shoot too many doggies, man, but I know guys use like the 30-meter hard line for doggies instead of a bungee just to keep them off the reef.
Yeah.
One thing I will say is, and this sounds very obvious, but make sure that you have your 3 atmosphere floats pumped up all the way.
I was listening to you and Brett talk about that. I was like, yeah. Like you were talking about having a compressor on hand and measuring what volume you've got in there, like actually blowing them up to what they're capable of.
Yeah, dude, you definitely got to do that. I hate saying it, I lost like a legit 200-pound ahi or yellowfin tuna on the east side of Big Island on a shore dive because I didn't have my freaking float pumped up all the way. We were diving, right? A shore dive. It was like full moon. We had like 5 sharks under the flasher. It was just like gnarly ocean conditions. And my buddy wanted to stay out a little bit longer, and I was over it. I was like, dude, let's get out of here. Like, I don't feel safe. Like the current's strong, and the water was like crystal clean blue. It was just like, it just felt wild. And he was like, let's stay out a little bit longer. And I was like, okay, whatever. So we're swimming up current. We started another drift, and this freaking giant ahi comes straight up to the flashers, like legit 200-pound fish. It was bigger than the sharks. I dropped down, I plugged it with the aim right. The fish took off, 100-foot bungee, going. Right 3 atmosphere. It was like pumped up, you know, to probably about, I don't know, 10 psi. I did it with a hand pump.
Yeah.
And the thing just took it straight down.
Yeah.
And we never saw it again.
So 3 atmospheres is like what, 44 psi or something?
Yeah, I think if you can get it up to like at least 30, you don't want to blow it out, you know, pump it up to 40 and then it blows up in the sun or something like that because it expands with the heat, right? So I think 30 psi is good.
Yeah, I heard you talking about that 3 atmospheres too. Like, what's your preference now with floats?
Shoot, what am I using? I'm using like the Ocean Hunter 3 atmosphere.
Yeah.
Those things are a bust. You know, I'd use the Rife. I got a Gannet too. I had a Gannet like spraying a leak on me. And they're kind of hard to get a hold of these days. But, you know, Rife, Ocean Hunter, I'm not a huge fan of the Rob Allen ones. They're a little bit thin
Yep.
and they don't have as much lift. So
Yep.
if you want to use that as part of like your system, like up forward or something, I think that's cool. But I wouldn't be like relying on that.
So if you're going out to like Tahiti and you're chasing like doggies again, like big doggies, what would be your go-to float system? So you'd like a 30-meter hard line to a 3 atmosphere? And then?
I mean, like if I'm going to Tahiti, like I'm probably going for Wahoo, and doggies are kind of a bycatch. So I want to have something that has like a little stretch to it. I would say if you're specifically targeting dogtooth tuna, then yeah, you can use like a 30-meter hard line. But you know, I was there last summer and I shot like a 35 kilo doggy, and I was using like a 100-foot bungee, just a regular float, landed it perfectly fine.
Nice.
So
Just
I
good
think it's
shot
just really
placement.
about making sure your rigging is good to go and your floats are pumped up.
Righto. Cool, man. Because a lot of people will be like, you have a hard line to a 33 atmosphere, then you might run a 10-meter bungee to another 3 atmosphere, then you might run another 5-meter bungee to a hard stopper float or something like that, and people get pretty elaborate.
I mean, if to me, like I'm all about being practical, and like that whole mess of floats on the boat is it's a lot to deal with. So I'm like, 100 foot bungee, big robust float, and a good shot with some solid rigging.
Nice.
There's so many variables that are outside of your control with spearfishing. Like make sure that you crimped your shit okay. If you're using like 1.4 millimeter cable, you want to use 1.5 to 1.6 millimeter crimps, and you want to get down hard on that crimper. So just make sure your stuff's good to go.
Ocean Guardian is the world's leading shark deterrent technology. And the great news is they're now partners with the Noob Spearo podcast. You can save 10% on the Freedom 7 or Scuba 7 when you shop at Ocean Guardian. Use the code Noob Spearo at checkout to save 10%. If you want to go there, easy, super easy, go to noobspearo.com/OG, short for Ocean Guardian. Pretty original, eh? Pump in the code Noob Spearo and you'll save 10% on your Shark Shield device. Get into it, get amongst it. Ocean Guardian are doing awesome things for Spearos.
Are you in the market for a new spear gun? Killshot Spear Guns has got blue water Wahoo tuna guns, open track spear guns, enclosed track spear guns, rear handle enclosed tracks. Check them out at killshotspearguns.com. Even better, I've got some good news for you. You can save $30 on any Killshot Spear Gun at killshotspearguns.com. Use the code NOOB. If you're in store, just say, "Crikey, mate," or say Shrek from the Noob Spearo sent you, and you'll save $30. Ed Martin at killshotspearguns.com. Check them out.
Equalizing problems can be something that derail you. Not today, my friend. Go to freedivingfamily.com. Check out either the Frenzel and Advanced Frenzel video or the Mouthful and Deep Frenzel Equalization course at freedivingfamily.com. You can use the code Spearo to get 20% off any course at freedivingfamily.com. These courses are put together by Adam Stern and a select team of legends, and to help you overcome different issues and help you perform better. And some of them are extremely relevant for freedive spearing. Check it out at freedivingfamily.com. Use the code Spearo to get 20% off any course.
You go out with young guys all the time. I mean, you've built yourself a pretty solid rep as a decent diver in your area. When you take out guys that are pretty fresh to the blue water gig, what do you see them struggle with?
I would say that, just controlling their nerves when they see a fish. Like obviously, like when you see like a big blue water fish, even myself, like your heart starts pumping like crazy, and the first thing you want to do is just beeline it and pop off a shot. I see a lot of guys taking shots too early. I'm not saying I'm above all that, but like when I see a big blue water fish and my heart jumps, like I take a second, like, all right, I'm gonna make my dive and I'm gonna approach the fish, I'm gonna shoot it. Yeah. So And then, another thing is just having respect for the fish. That's one thing that I learned from G. He's like really particular about like when you shoot a fish, man, like don't bang it up too much and like rubbing off all the scales and smacking it on the head and throwing it on the deck of the boat. That's a big beautiful animal, and just treat that thing with respect, man. Like you killed that animal.
Yeah.
There's a quote. There's a movie called A River Runs Through It. Got I think it was Brad Pitt or someone. It's a movie about fly fishing. But one of the quotes that I really like is, "If our father had his say, nobody who did not know how to fish would be allowed to disgrace a fish by catching him." And it sounds kind of like elitist, but I really like, if you're gonna go out and you're gonna hunt blue water fish, just please have respect for the animal. Make sure you're using the right stuff. Don't go out there with your 110 and poke holes in fish. So I would say that's one of the things.
Love it. That's really good advice, Nick. For you, like you've been diving for a little while now. What were some areas of your dive technique where you really struggled, and what did you do to develop in those areas? Can you think of a clear weakness that you had maybe in your diving and how you overcome it?
Oh man. Uh, you know, one issue that I had is just diving like straight straight up and down.
Yep.
I see a lot of guys and even
Corkscrewing.
myself, yeah, corkscrewing or diving at like 45 degrees.
Yep.
And I just resolved that by taking a freediving class and spending some time on the line. Yeah,
So it just gets you used to diving direct because you understand the mechanics. I mean, when you've got a reference point, it's pretty easy to dive straight up and down. When you don't, like we do, it.
yeah,
I've seen guys dive well on the line and then pretty shit out in the open. Did you
yeah,
just make some postural streamlining type improvements?
yeah. I think that was part of it, and just you know, an issue that I see a lot and that I had, especially in blue water, is like you got no frame of reference, right? You don't even have reef below you. So really the only thing that you can use as a reference is like the fish, right? So for instance, when I make a dive, I'm not stretching my neck out looking at the fish. I see where the fish is. I have a general understanding of where he is relative to me. I make my dive, and in my mind's eye, I can picture where that fish is going, and sort of just like adjust myself and try and posture myself so that I'll intercept that fish.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, like a lot of the times, especially when I first started diving, I'll dive down and I look up, and the thing's behind me, he's back over there, So just maybe using the fish as a reference point
Yeah.
and just keeping that in your mind's eye. Yeah,
I've done that before with like king mackerel or Spanish mackerel over here, and you like I've tucked my head in and just gone, oh yeah, I'm going to intercept him. I'm going to be there, and then I've popped my head up and I'm way closer to the bottom, and the fish that I thought I was chasing is like literally like I could reach out and touch it. And then there's all these other fish that are further out that I thought was the original one, and it takes me a little while to get my bearings again. Have you done sort of
yeah.
similar stuff?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. It's good to hear I'm not alone. So these days, talk me through hunting yellowfin tuna. Like, so you like, I mean, there's a whole different, lot of different ways you go hunting. I mean, a lot of spearfishing is finding fish.
Yeah.
How much time do you
So,
spend researching?
honestly, not too much. The good thing about diving in Hawaii is like we get all species of pelagic fish year round, right? And obviously, some months are better than others for certain species. Most of the time, I'm going out for wahoo, and then anything else I catch is kind of bycatch, you know. So like a big yellowfin tuna, which I have shot in Hawaii, it's kind of like more of a fluke than anything.
Yeah.
I like if someone says, "Hey, I'm going out and I'm targeting yellowfin tuna," I'm like, okay, maybe like if one rocks up in the chum, if you're like lucky. But
Yeah.
um, yeah, I can I tell you about bluefin tuna though?
Yeah. Oh, you
So
did the California stuff. Yeah, yeah. I want to hear about this
yeah,
trip, man. Yeah. Fill me
so
in.
I got a buddy that's stationed out in San Diego, and he's got like a little 26-foot Grady White,
Yep.
and he's big into spearfishing. He's a frother, and every summer I like to try and go out there and shoot bluefin. So this past September I went, and for anyone that's not familiar, the West Coast of California has a big bluefin tuna run during the summer, and it's a good opportunity to shoot, the fish of a lifetime. So I go out there. The first day we take his buddy's charter boat out, and we're off one of the islands off California, and it's like 50 nautical miles out there to where the spot is.
Mm.
And so we're just hanging out on the boat, and it's like that typical like green murky California water. And I'm just looking out. We're looking for the tuna because we heard we were there, or we heard that they were there. And off in the distance, I see like a finlet sticking out of the water, and then behind it, like just fins and fins and fins and fins, and it was like a 50-meter like long school of bluefin tuna just like spinning on the surface. They're just swimming on the surface. It's like nothing I've ever heard of or seen.
Right.
I don't know that they do that. The southern bluefin tuna down in New
Yeah, no,
Zealand.
I think they sort of do. Like
Do they?
my mate Eckhart, he's Saltwater Sessions on Instagram. He's got a video about how to find them, and it was some similar behavior to what you're saying. You can see them from the surface, but you've got to understand what you're looking for, I think.
Yeah, and it's so hard. The boat captain that we were with and my buddy, they're really good at spotting them. For me, it was hard to differentiate the difference between just like some texture on the water from the wind
Yeah.
versus like a school of them.
Yeah, that was the
But
vibe I
this,
got.
yeah, this was like a legit school, like bluefin tuna sickles like sticking out of the water. And the way that these schools are shaped is they're kind of like an iceberg. So if you can see them at the top, like there's just a whole group of them down at the bottom,
Wow.
right? So we motor up to it and we shut off the boat. We drift perfectly into like the path of the tuna, and I punch a dive, and just huge vortex, like 100 to 150 pound tuna. Um, so the thing is, they don't completely give it up to you. Like I was down there and I was like trying to aim up on one, but they're reacting to your actions, right? So you kind of gotta like feign a little bit. Anyways, I get a shaft into one, shoot him straight through the back. Thing takes off, starts pulling the float. The school takes off, and the fight's on. So I'm pulling up my bungee. I got my fighting float, which I clip onto my bungee, something that they do in California, not so much in Hawaii. I get the bluefin tuna up to the shooting line, right?
Yeah.
And it's like a legit like 150-pound fish at the shooting line. Got the Dyneema on, and I'm just fighting them. I'm trying to get them up, and the thing is just working me, bro.
Yeah.
Like everyone says dogtooth tuna is the strongest fish, but like I think yellowfin and bluefin, they just got more endurance. They just fight longer,
Yeah, right.
So I'm fighting this thing for no kidding. Like I got him at the shooting line for like 5 or 6 minutes. I'm like, dude, this fight's taking way too long. My buddy finally shows up with the backup gun. I load up the backup gun. He's holding the shooting line. I punch a dive to put in the backup shot, and dude, like a lightning bolt out of nowhere, like this 8 or 9 foot streak of silver just comes in, wow, wow, whacks the tail off, whacks the head. It was a giant mako shark. Freaking huge mako just
Oh,
rips
no.
up my bluefin tuna, takes all my gear down to the bottom, and just took the whole fish literally within like 10 seconds. And we've got sharks here in Hawaii, like oceanics and gray reef sharks and stuff like that. Dude, that mako shark was like a machine.
Yeah.
Those things are no joke in the water. And like I was like, holy crap, man. I pulled my shooting line up. I got my shaft back. I've got like some 1,100-pound Spectra rigged on my slip tip. Thing was like sheared clean off, like with a pair of scissors. Thing was just gone. So yeah.
Have you seen that HD footage out the back of a trawling boat before of a mako?
No, I haven't.
I've seen this footage, and it's this wide angle camera, so like you can kind of see like maybe 80 meters side to side vision out the back of this trolling game boat, and the game boat's doing like probably like 15, 20 knots, and they've got these teasers out in a pattern and lures out the back, And this mako comes in and it's moving from one side of the screen to the other, which is covering 80 meters. And it's coming forward at this boat. And the acceleration curve on this animal is like nothing you've ever seen before. It's like they're like the Usain Bolt of sharks. This thing, I think they clocked it at 72 kilometers an hour. And I don't know how they come up with the figure. But just watching this animal in its element, full hunting, it's that they're a scary shark. And
Dude,
they're so fast.
yeah, unreal, unreal. Um, yeah, man, I got out of the water after that. I was like, I'm hanging it up, bro. I'm not shooting enough tuna because it's that murky green California water, man, and it's like
Yeah, yeah.
a big animal.
I've seen a
Um,
few guys come unstuck in like the green current, dirty water that's dark. Like I was out with this one dude, he's like, 140-foot diver or something, and here's little old me like flat out diving 60 feet. We're diving together on this channel marker. It would have been 80 feet or something, but it was dark and current, 5 meters viz, that nasty green shit where you're thinking like, okay, there's a great white here somewhere. And we were having turns at dropping it because with a channel marker, you pretty much like you do a drop each, you can tell what's around. Anyway, he did a drop and he just bailed halfway and he was like, I'm going back to the boat, bro. I don't like it. And I felt so much better about myself. Like just it's good to sometimes see really competent people be just as like, wary and kind of nervous as you are. It's kind of
oh
good.
yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
I'm like, am I the only one that's tripping out on this, dude? Chris Coates recently posted a video of him shooting like Spanish mackerel on a shore dive off the coast of wherever he's at in
Yeah.
Africa.
Yeah.
This dude is diving like before first light in the morning. He's making like solid deep drops to like I don't know how deep he was diving, but it wasn't shallow in like pitch black water. I was like, yo, this guy is out of his mind. Like that's some insane diving right there. I would not be doing
Man,
that.
those South African guys, man, like he's off Durban.
Hardcore.
He's off Durban, but all of those guys, the Western Cape, Eastern Cape divers, they are all crazy. So that's why they're some of the best divers in the world. That they are used to just
100%.
diving slop and diving
Yeah.
hard and just punching dives in miserable conditions. And like, they might be in 60 feet, but like, it's different than being in crystal clear 100 foot with no current and no great whites, like
Yeah.
you got to respect
And
them, eh?
dude, they've got the bull sharks out there too. Dude,
Yeah.
all the Rob Allen, Chris
Yeah.
Coates, those guys are my heroes, man. They're next level.
Yeah. Have you
So yeah,
seen
big mako shark.
that Jaco Blignort?
Yako. I have not. I have to check him out.
He's a comp diver, but he's just like, yeah, he's just like one of those dudes where you're like, you'd put him up there against the best in the world, Maybe not in
Yeah.
the med. I don't know. I think he has done even well over there, but like you put him in their conditions, and I think that may be unbeatable. If they had a
Oh
Worlds in
yeah.
South Africa, no one's winning it except a South African.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, they're crazy. Have you got any sponsors, man?
No sponsors.
Hmm.
No sponsors. Sponsor myself. Sponsored by Hawaiian Airlines. That's who I work for. So I
Yeah.
get some free flights out of that.
What do you do?
Shout out to them. I support their maintenance operation over in Honolulu.
Okay.
So yeah. And then part-time work I'm a bosun's mate in the United States Coast Guard.
I wonder what your connection
out on the
was.
small boats a little bit.
Cool,
yeah.
man. Cool.
Right. Hey, let me finish my bluefin tuna story. Though.
Yeah, sorry, bro. Sorry.
No, we're good. We're good. So I get that big tuna text. We go back to mainland California. The plan the next day was to take out my buddy's small boat, the 24-foot Grady White, and go back to the same spot. So we punch it out the next day. Mind you, it was like 50 or 60 nautical miles to where we were at. But the thing is about tuna is that they move around. So they might be one place one day and then the next day they're off in a different area.
Yeah.
So we're off kind of looking for like the commercial fleet, which is like the big boats that, they'll find the tuna. So we're looking for the commercial fleet. And it turns out that the tuna were north of the island. So that was like another like 30 or 40 nautical miles from where we were at. So we punch it out there, long ride, and we get out there, man, and it's north of the island. We're in straight up open ocean, and we're on like a 24-foot Grady White. I'm looking around me. There is not one commercial boat that's less than 40 feet out there. And it's like, we're in like straight up open ocean, man. So I was like, holy crap. But we start marking tuna. So my buddy, he's at the helm, and then I'm with his friend, and we're both hanging off the back, and we're like sounding for the tuna. And I look down into the water, man, and it's not green anymore. It's like crystal clear blue water, like offshore open ocean. Like I don't know how deep it was there, but it must have been in the thousands of feet, right? So he marks them. We find them. I drop down on the breezer. Again, just school vortex by them. Plug one, big one, boom, 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 get them up, backup shot on the boat. We look for the next, we find the next school. His buddy gets on one, boom, his first bluefin tuna was like 150 pounds. Then I take the helm, I get my buddy on a breezer, he shoots one, boom, like another 160 pounder. We had like three like over 150 plus pound tuna on the boat, right? And like it was all in the span of maybe like 2 hours, and like we're all absolutely like losing our minds like on adrenaline in that moment, you know, we're all freaking out, and I wanted to stay out and keep shooting more. And by this point it was like 2 or 3 in the afternoon. And like we're 100 nautical miles offshore. So my buddy's like, hey, we got to get out of here. So I was like, okay, let's start heading back to land. So we got all the tunas on the deck, everything squared away. We go to kick the engine on, boom, we're moving, and we can't get the boat above like 1,000 RPM. So we're like, huh, that's weird. So we check the outboard, everything's clear, and we can't move. We're moving slow. And I'm like, oh, maybe it's the weight of the tuna or something. My buddy, the captain, goes to the aft deck. And he lifts up one of the compartments, and it's completely flooded with water. We're 100 nautical miles offshore. We're in a wooden Grady White, and our boat's flooding. So I was like, bro, get the boat in gear. Me and the other dude, we start bailing water out.
Yeah.
We get all the water out. We get on plane. We find out that the bilge had stopped working. And I guess there was like a leak on one of the ports on the starboard side. So we're taking on water. And I'm like, dude, holy crap, man. Like I'm in the Coast Guard, like I know when like you're in a hairy situation, right?
Yeah.
So we got the boat up on plane though, and we were doing like checks every 5 minutes to see if we were taking on water, and it was pretty good. And we had the decision of whether or not we wanted to stop at the island and try and resolve it, or just keep going to mainland Cali. And we decided to just keep pushing towards Cali.
Yeah.
So of course, once we get out of the lee of the island, we still got another 50 nautical miles or so. And the conditions just got nuts. Like big, huge ground swell, and then like short interval wind swell way offshore. And like I said, it's a wooden boat. I don't know if you've ever been on a Grady White, but they've got like these cabinets for the forward compartment. Every time we slammed on a wave, it sounded like the boat was going to crack in half, dude.
Yeah.
So anyways, we're all like white knuckling, the freaking dashboard, and it's a real quiet ride. And we're just like, nobody wants to say anything to like make the situation worse, right? In a tight spot like that. So we're hanging on, and it's just gnarly ocean conditions. And I remember the night before, I don't know if you're like a spiritual man, but I was praying to God for tuna, right? I was like, God, I'm only here for a weekend. If you could please just get me a tuna, I would be happy, selfishly.
Yeah.
And I remember that prayer, and then in that moment, like I don't know if it was God or what, but I felt him say like, I provide you with what you want, but you still don't believe that I can provide you with what you need, which in that moment was my life,
Powerful.
And I was still, scared, but in that moment I knew that we were going to get home okay. And eventually we made it back safe to the harbor, and I'm sure all the Cali guys listening are like, man, what a bunch of kooks. But we made it back, and everything was good, but it was definitely one for the books. Yeah.
So is your faith something you anchor your life on, or are you like one of those guys that Like just praise when you're in a tough situation or you really want something.
Oh man, my faith is something that I struggle with on a daily basis. You know, so yeah, I'd like to say the first one, but it could be the latter sometimes.
Yeah. I'm a bit of the latter myself sometimes, but
Yeah.
I'm like one of those tea bags, I'm only decent when I'm in hot water. But I'm a bit like you, man.
Yeah.
I reckon
Yeah.
he's always got our back as well. I share the same view, man. So Jeepers, you'd be grateful. You didn't put out like the Silence call on the radio. You didn't get to the point of saying a Mayday.
Ah, man, I don't know. I think my buddy had a little bit too much pride for that. He didn't want to call anybody. I was like, "Yo, I'm about to grab that radio."
Yeah, it's at those
Hey,
moments.
but I was thinking all kinds of worst case scenario situations, like, hey, radio, and then we're gonna tie all the blue water floats together and just hang on tight if the boat sinks with the
That's it,
freaking
eh? Like
mako sharks and the great whites.
sometimes that's what people do in situations. Like you learn a lot about yourself when you face adversity, like how you react. Like if you go into like, okay, what are we going to do about this? Like, and you try to be rational and think through it like a problem. Like you're probably going to be a useful dude in a tough spot. And I think and if you're not and you panic or whatever, that's okay. But you can kind of learn and you can move forward and you can change some of that stuff about yourself. But you only know when you do the tough stuff.
100%.
This podcast is brought to you by aqualite.com.au. This is the best solution, bar none, for staying hydrated in the ocean. If you're a Spearo, it's an absolute no-brainer. It's a game changer. If you're doing extended trips and the cramp starts to set in and the old body's telling you, hey, that's enough, just get hydrated and it will save you a whole heap of woe. It's a groundbreaking product that can help you to stay hydrated. It's got low sugar, it's less acidic than other options on the market, it's rapid absorption, help you to maintain performance. Dehydration of just 1 to 2% can affect your mental and physical performance by up to 6 or 7%. And as when you're spearfishing, you can tell when dehydration is starting to affect you because the equalization goes out the window. Get Aqualite at aqualite.com.au. It's scientific rehydration that Spearos know and trust. I know because one works there, and that's why we've set up this discount code for you, 10% off when you use the code NoobSpearo at aqualite.com.au. Check it out. Australian-made hydration products tailored for Spearos and a whole bunch of other people that suffer from dehydration too. But check it out at aqualite.com.au. Use the code NoobSpearo to save 10%.
Old Man Blue. Spearfishing gear made to last. Go to Old Man Blue Dive on Instagram or oldmanblue.com.au and check out some gear made to last. oldmanblue.com.au.
Earlier we were talking about why you froth on spearfishing even more now than you did when you started. And to tie it back into that, I think like spearfishing is real, like there's stuff to be proper stressed about, like real stuff, like you can die. And I feel like it just resets all that bullshit noise of the everyday stress that like it's just hum and it builds and builds and builds and going spearfishing just clears it. And so when you come back, you're exhausted, you're wrecked, but you've had your stress clock reset and it's like, sweet, I'm good to roll into tomorrow. And it's like, it's just good for you, eh?
Oh yeah, 100%. You hit the nail on the head. And that's so true about like not knowing how you would react in an emergency situation. And like, some guys freeze up and
Yeah.
they fumble up or they, sometimes I get angry myself personally.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
the guy that freezes up. You don't have to be the guy that gets angry. You can be useful just as long as you know that about yourself.
Yeah.
And then, the next time a stressful situation comes along, hopefully you can react a little bit better.
I've been doing a bit of this work on myself lately, like and I'm a big fan of reading like some psychological literature. Neuroplasticity is a massive one. You can rewire and you can change neural pathways so that you have a different response in certain situations. Therapy helps do it with like super stressful stuff where you've experienced trauma or shame and things like that. But on a local level, sometimes just our basic responses to everyday stresses, we can do stuff about if we're conscious of the process. And I think these changes are really cool. And I think if we just have a look at them, we can learn, like you said, learn a lot about ourselves and then make small changes.
Yeah. What book are you reading?
I read a book about neuroplasticity
Okay,
specifically. I also read
I gotta check that out.
a couple of high performance books by Stephen someone, and he talks a lot about it, like working through it.
Okay.
Another thing that sort of led me down this pathway recently, and I chatted about it on another podcast a while back, was Tom Sandstrom from a mate of mine from Coffs Harbour. He sent me this thing like, hey, you got to listen to this Joe Rogan interview. He interviews this archer dude. His name's Joel Turner. And in that, this Joel's like a specialist high performance archery coach. And one of the things he talks about is this open and closed loop thinking, like through a process. And I was talking about it with my buddy Eckhart, how like sometimes when we do monkey see, monkey do learning, we just intuitively get a grasp of the concept and do it without actually isolating all of the stages of that process. So when we're making mistakes, it's very hard for us to isolate in on the one thing that we're doing wrong. Whereas, we just kind of group all of these, like for example, with a duck dive, there's maybe 10 different steps. If you're conscious of all those 10 steps when you learn, that's a conscious process. That's a closed loop process because you're conscious of all 10 stages. If you're in an open loop, you just duck dive and you're not conscious of
Ah,
all 10 parts of that phase. So when you have a problem in your diving, this is what led me to my question with you after about, was there areas of your diving that you consciously improved? Part of what I'm trying to get at is like, what did you isolate in on and how did you overcome it? Because a lot of Spearos, we just go spearing and we don't do this. And if you get in further and further into this open and closed loop thinking about stuff, it's in every factor of life. Like when I go to do public speaking, sometimes I freeze up due to some past trauma with it and embarrassment and shame and stuff. But also and being forced out of into a closed loop process where I'm conscious and in the moment and thinking through every stage. I'm working out of an open loop and I'm just operating out of what's happened to me in the past. Anyway, I've been thinking a lot about this stuff lately. So yeah, I'm very interested in how the brain works and how we work through stuff. And I find spearfishing is this amazing thing that forces us into these situations where I analyze these things at a much deeper level. And maybe I'm overthinking it, which I'm guilty of too
oh
sometimes. But
no, man, that's deep, and I think that's a good way to like isolate the issue.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
that's cool.
You find people sometimes they're amazing and they just operate in a beautiful system that they've worked their way through and made so many fine adjustments and improvements. And the pursuit of mastery, self mastery, is huge. And you can become really excellent at what you do if you're conscious of the process and where things are going wrong for you. And you're not having a judgment on yourself because that's another thing that people do is they just say I'm crap rather than like I'm not present in stage 4 of this process, but
Right,
I'll overcome it. So that internal self talk also can derail you.
that's deep. Chuck, you're deep, man.
Sometimes I go deep, Nick, particularly with dudes like you that are thoughtful and like
Yeah,
you're open to the concepts and the ideas. Yeah,
100%. So speaking of public speaking, that's the number one fear in the world for I think most people.
yeah.
Any tips on public speaking? Just a little sidetrack.
One thing I got out of that Joel Turner interview on Joe Rogan, thoroughly recommend it, 100% recommend it to people because it's
Let
broadly
me check that
applicable
out.
to way more things than just bow hunting. He says this. He has this self talk where he isolates in on the steps of his process. He says them, so like he'll be like draw, 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 draw. He might say the same word a series of times to force himself into that moment where he's conscious of being in that process. And then he says this thing, up my presence, which is like when you can cue yourself so that you're more present in the moment. It doesn't really matter what language you use as long as it's consistent and it's something that you do when you say it to yourself. And I think upping your presence, because a lot of people, when they're in front of other people, they want to turn themselves down. There's that social pressure to conform, to want to make everyone happy. But if you just up your presence, just go, I know who I am and I know what I'm about. I know what I got to do, and you just do it, rather than over analyzing stuff and thinking about what other people are thinking and all this stuff. You're not focused on the task at hand. So that was massive for me.
I love that. Just having that confidence in yourself that you're someone worthy of saying something. You got something to say.
Yeah, and man, we all have that imposter syndrome, and when there's no greater time that it rears its ugly head is when you go to speak publicly. And man, I've had some times where I've been making 200 people laugh their asses off, and I really enjoy it. And then I've had the opposite experience where I'm in front of friends and family, and there's only 60 people, and I feel myself making these awkward gestures, and I'm just not in what I'm saying. I'm thinking too much about just crap.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I love that. Dang, I wish you would have told me that at the beginning of the interview, bro. Come on, man. Where were you?
Well, this is your interview, man. This is not mine.
I needed a pep talk, bro.
Mate, it's a shame. It's a shame you're not going to get into spearfishing while you're in Japan there. I would really have loved to have heard about that adventure.
Oh, dude, I'm coming back, man.
Yeah.
I'm going to have hot rod spear guns, make me one of those undercover breakdown spear guns, little Lego type situation, and sneak that thing in here. Definitely going to come back. Yeah.
It's very interesting their part of the world. And I've got this Japanese guy, and I was going to ask him a series of questions and pre-record the questions and his answers. That way he has time to correct the English. And, it's hard with the language barrier, but I mean, that's the beautiful thing about learning from different people in different parts of the world, eh?
Yeah. Definitely.
Any other big takeaways from either your California experience that you want to talk about or your Tahiti experience?
Yeah, I would say just in a tough situation. Let me see here. Just generally speaking, going back to safety, when you're diving, always make the assumption that you're kind of on your own, even when you're diving with a partner. You shouldn't be relying on your partner to save you from a blackout. I like personally diving with people that stay well within their limits. I'm not impressed by deep divers or deep diving, anything like that. I would say if you're spearfishing at depths of 30 meters or more, anything can happen. I don't care how good of a free diver you are. So yeah, just take care of yourself while you're out there. And then obviously bring an EPIRB or PLV if you're offshore. But even with that, just know that that's not a lifesaver. You got to assume that thing's working. And then, that radio frequency has to be received, and then the asset has to be dispatched. So it's going to be some time before someone gets there. So just, make the assumption that you're out there on your own. And in the Coast Guard, as a boat crewman, one of the things you learn is to report everything you think, hear, see, smell, or feel. So that's anything. Even if you're the most junior guy, even if you're the newest diver, on someone else's boat and something looks awry, something smelling gasoline, or don't be afraid to speak up and make it known. And or if the ocean conditions start getting a little bit hairy, some of the times other guys are thinking it, but they're just not saying anything because it's just sort of that diffusion of responsibility that happens. Don't be afraid to speak up. Be like, hey, the current's getting a little rough. We should probably move spots, or the wind's picking up. So I would say, just speak up.
If your buddy had a blackout on your next spearfishing trip, think, what would the outcome of that be? Do you know how to revive someone from a blackout? Would you even be in a position to do something about it? Or would you be diving, chasing after a fish as your buddy sinks down to the bottom of the ocean? Do you know where most blackouts happen? Do you know what you can do to minimize your risk of having a blackout? My name is Ted Hardy, and I'm the founder of freedivingsafety.com. In my free online course, you will learn the truth about shallow water blackout, the myth of I don't push myself, I know my limits, I'm in tune with my body, how to minimize your risk of having a blackout, and most importantly, how to save your buddy's life if they have one. Visit freedivingsafety.com to sign up for your free course today. Dive safe out there. It's not even that hard.
Freediving for Spearfishers at howtofreedive.com will help you to extend your breath hold, understand your body better, and put you in a better position when you actually get to go out spearfishing. This program is not for noobs, as this program is for people who have some diving under their belts and understand some basic spearfishing safety, but it's perfect for Spearos who want a guided, easy to follow and complete program with videos, a clear process, and a set goal. The 5-minute freediver works. Get started for free and see if it's for you at howtofreedive.com. There's a tester there. Use the code NoobSpearo, NOOBSPEARO, to save some money if you do decide to purchase. Check it out at howtofreedive.com. Freediving for spearfishers, a fantastic way to prepare, especially if you've got a big trip coming up. Get to that 5-minute mark, and it does translate to your diving at howtofreedive.com. I like that, man. One thing I like about Hawaii is I feel like there's this sense of honor, like about the people, most of the people that come from there. There's always exceptions, but like you guys seem to have a respect for your elders, like people that have been doing it a long time, and knowledge does seem to pass down more freely than in a lot of our more westernized cultures. I know Hawaii is part of America, but it's very much its own thing. Can you comment on that?
As far as respecting their elders, I feel that's more of like an Asian thing.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Because you guys
call
people like uncle,
predominantly Asian. Oh yeah, uncle, auntie.
Is that not an honorific? Is it like a title of respect?
Yeah, it can be. It can be for sure. Yeah, I mean, you definitely want to respect your uncles, and if they show you spots, or like one of my good buddies, we were chopping up some fish in his backyard, and I was kind of butchering this ono, and my uncle, my Hanai uncle, or his dad, came over and he was like, "Hey, make sure you respect the fish when you fillet it." And then he came over, took the knife, and showed me, make sure you don't booger up the fillets with all the fish slime, and put the paper towel on top and the bottom, and bag them up nice. Just treat it with respect. And that was that's one thing I took away from him. But yeah, the uncle's always got knowledge. And of course, just with spots and stuff, I've caught cracks from some uncles for blowing up a spot and stuff like that. So yeah, definitely there's a huge amount of, respect is important, especially in the spearfishing community in Hawaii, because it's so small. Like you get a bad name for like blowing up a spot or something, people are going to know who you are, so it's a good like sort of self-regulating culture. So
yeah. Nick, I feel like we've just touched the surface, bro. I feel like you and I could chat for hours. I've really, really enjoyed having you on the show. I'm so glad that we were able to make it happen today. Like, I really appreciate you making the effort, man. I know you're jet lagged and in Japan, and but you made time, man. And I know we got the restaurant in the background, or the hotel lobby, but I really appreciate you making time, man.
Dude, Shrek, thank you for having me on, man. It's been an honor. Yeah, I've been listening since it was, you and Turbo days. So it's seriously an honor to be on here. Thank you so much for having me, bro.
Man, awesome. People can come find you at like Team Sea Monkeys. Is that Team Sea Monkey or Team Sea Monkeys?
Yeah, at Team Sea Monkeys on Instagram. If you got any questions or you want to go dive, go ahead and message me.
Where did that name come from?
Oh shoot, it was me and one of my first dive buddies, Dane Sexigawa. He's a legend here, and we were just sitting around and came up with it out of nowhere. Team Sea Monkeys has a nice ring to it.
Yeah,
seen cool. Those underwater monkeys swimming around.
What's cool, Nick?
Yeah.
Mate, don't be a stranger, bro. Always reach out, and thank you so much for serving with the Coast Guard and helping out Muppets like me that get stuck out at sea and like under-equipped boats and stuff.
Dude, I'm the one getting stuck. All right.
Hey guys, Nick Anastasia at Team Sea Monkeys on Instagram. Absolutely rad dude. Really enjoyed this that conversation. Like I said, sort of a wild man, but very contained as well. An absolutely rad guy, and definitely someone worth following on Instagram at Team Sea Monkeys. I hope you enjoyed today's chat. It was brought to you by patron legend listeners who support the show on an episode by episode basis for as little as $4 a month. You can get on there and keep fueling the Noob Spearo outboard, help us power along. Next week, we are going to David Ochoa. He is probably one of the world's top spearfishing guides, And I'm going to call him that. Like, he's definitely sought after, highly regarded, brilliant underwater photography. He's brought some of the best spearfishing cinematography to our lifestyle. I call him a friend. He's a really cool guy. And we talk about the infamous Latham Island dogtooth, filmmaking, chasing your dream, and all the other good things that are part of our spearfishing lifestyle. Come back next week, my friends, and froth on with David Ochoa. Hey, again, go to patreon.com/Noob Spearo if you want to put fuel on the Noob Spearo outboard. Muchas gracias. Buenos dias. I'm done. That's my Spanish done. I'm out. See you guys. My partner and I are getting into spearfishing and didn't know where to start. The staff here at the Adreno Wollongabba store were great and spent a lot of time with us, helping work out exactly what we needed. We'll be going back whenever I need more gear. That review from Lachlan. Buy your spearfishing gear at Adreno. They've got huge spearfishing mega stores all over the country, or you can shop online at adreno.com.au. Even better, sweeten it up with the code NoobSpearo. Save yourself $20 on every purchase over $200. Check it out, adreno.com.au. Absolutely mint customer service. Specialty spearfishing equipment, elite spear gun performance components, unforgettable reliability. You want to find out where to buy this? Punch in Neptonics.com and shop at the best US spearfishing store, Neptonics.com. Free shipping to the lower 48 when you spend over $199, and you can use the code NOOB10 to save 10%. This is your chance to save dosh. Buy deadly good gear and experience A-grade customer service. Will you shop with the best? Visit Neptonics.com. Use the code NOOB10 to start shooting 35-pound muttons tomorrow. Actual performance may differ from advertisement. Please refer to terms and conditions to see if you're eligible to be a legend like Shrek. This advertisement was not even endorsed by Jerry and the team at Neptonics. Hoorah, and God bless America.